There was no on-air explosion, no viral walk-off, no camera-panning drama. The tension this time didn't play out in front of a live audience. It simmered behind closed doors, in sleek offices and Zoom meetings where the stakes weren't applause lines or trending hashtags, but something quieter and far more powerful: corporate strategy. In early 2025, just weeks after Donald Trump returned to the White House in a stunning re-election, ABC executives made a calculated move. They approached the team behind The View, one of the most politically charged platforms on daytime TV, and delivered a message that was as bold as it was dangerous: dial it back. Specifically, ease up on the Trump talk. The request, reportedly coming from the highest levels of ABC News and even echoing the voice of Disney CEO Bob Iger himself, was simple in tone but seismic in implication. And for a show that is built its latter-day identity on unapologetic, in-your-face political confrontation, it felt like an earthquake. The request, as it traveled from executive memos to the ears of hosts like Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and Ana Navarro, didn't land softly. These weren't just TV personalities reading headlines over coffee mugs. They were seasoned, battle-tested political commentators, women who had staked their reputations, and in some cases their entire brand identities, on being unfiltered, unafraid, and unapologetically outspoken. When the message came down from the top, tone down the Trump attacks, shift toward lifestyle and pop culture, remember the audience in the middle of the country, the response was immediate and unflinching: no. What followed wasn't a shouting match. It was worse, a standoff. One side holding the line for editorial freedom, the other clutching ratings reports and advertising forecasts. Behind the scenes, executives warned of consequences. Advertisers were growing wary. Swing state viewers were tuning out. The country, ABC suggested, was exhausted, and The View needed to adapt. But the hosts didn't flinch. One source described the request as silly. Another said it was out of touch with the show's loyal audience. After all, The View was never designed to be a neutral space. It was built to reflect real arguments, real emotion, and real polarization. Because that's what real people are, living through. The day after the meeting, as if to prove a point, the show went live with a segment. To understand why this clash matters, you have to understand what The View has become. Born in 1997 as Barbara Walters' experiment in all-female roundtable discussion, it has evolved over nearly 3 decades into one of the most politically significant platforms in American media. It doesn't just reflect the conversation, it shapes it. And for the last 8 years, particularly through the Trump presidency, the show has leaned hard into political commentary, often turning its morning slot into a cable news-grade slugfest. It's loud, it's messy, it's divisive, but it's also real, and that's why it works. Disney, however, operates on a different wavelength. Under Bob Iger's renewed leadership, the company has refocused on stability and profitability, especially as it faces internal unrest and public backlash from multiple fronts. For Iger, this isn't just about a morning talk show. It's about the entire Disney brand: streaming, parks, studios, and news, all caught in the cultural crosshairs of a country that's split down the middle. The decision to urge The View to go lighter on Trump likely wasn't about suppressing ideas. It was about survival, about keeping advertisers happy, about not alienating half the country when every dollar and demographic counts. But in trying to keep the ship afloat, Disney may have underestimated the storm it was sailing into. Because what The View's co-hosts made clear is this: their platform is not for sale, not to advertisers, not to ratings, and certainly not to executives who think avoiding Trump is good strategy. The show's audience, millions strong, doesn't tune in for balance. They tune in for heat, for passion, for perspective. They come to see Joy unload, to hear Whoopi go off script, to watch Sunny dig into legal nuance, and Ana slap down hypocrisy with a single raised eyebrow. Pull the politics, and you pull the soul of the show. But this isn't just about media. It's about America, about the new fault lines forming between journalism and entertainment, corporate messaging and editorial independence. The View is just the latest battleground in a much bigger war, one that's playing out across newsrooms, studios, and platforms around the country. And it's not just conservatives feeling censored. It's not just liberals demanding airtime. It's both. Everyone is fighting to control the narrative, and no one wants to blink first. Even former View co-host Meghan McCain, a conservative voice who often clashed with her liberal colleagues, weighed in with skepticism. "I'll believe The View is less political when I see it," she said on her podcast. And she has a point. For all its faults, and there are many, The View remains one of the few spaces on television where political opinions actually clash in real time. There's no careful balance, no artificial neutrality. It's raw, sometimes reckless, but it's real. And yet, this moment feels different, not because of what was said on air, but because of what wasn't. The silence from ABC executives after the hosts ignored their guidance speaks volumes. There was no follow-up punishment, no pulled segments, no reshuffling of cast, just quiet, which might mean one of two things. Either the network is quietly recalibrating, realizing that its audience won't tolerate a sanitized version of The View, or more likely, they're watching closely, waiting for ratings to slip, advertiser notes to change, and the data to justify a more aggressive pivot down the line. Meanwhile, the rest of Disney is grappling with its own identity crisis. Lawsuits against Ron DeSantis, boycotts over casting choices, backlash over content changes. From live action, remakes like Snow White and Lilo and Stitch to internal policy shifts around diversity and inclusion, the company has found itself repeatedly at the center of America's cultural war. And if there's one thing that culture warriors on both sides agree on, it's that Disney is fair game. Which brings us back to The View. Because in many ways, the show's current standoff is a microcosm of what's happening everywhere else. A company trying to manage brand safety in a political minefield, a cast of outspoken voices refusing to self-censor, and an audience that expects authenticity in a time where most media feels scrubbed and pre-approved. It's no longer enough to produce a good show. Now you have to navigate identity, ideology, and influence with every sentence. And the wrong move, one soft take, one canceled segment, one out-of-touch edit, can spark a storm. That's the tightrope Disney is walking. And it's not just on The View's stage. It's in every boardroom, every writer's room, every headline. What happens next depends on who blinks. Will ABC hold the line and allow its stars to keep speaking without a filter? Or will the suits upstairs eventually find a way to tighten the leash, subtly or otherwise? Will the hosts stay united? Or will internal fractures begin to show as the pressure mounts? For now, there's no clear answer. Only a tension that lingers, like the pause between two loud opinions, waiting to see which one speaks first. But one thing is certain. The View isn't going quiet. Not now. Not with Trump. Back in office. Not with the country spiraling deeper into division. And not when their audience needs a space to see that division unedited on full display. Because love it or hate it, The View isn't just a show anymore. It's a mirror. A flawed, loud, occasionally chaotic mirror, but a mirror nonetheless. And sometimes what it reflects isn't what executives want. And raised eyebrows over reports that a $400 million private jet from Qatar may have landed in Trump's hands, potentially violating the emoluments clause. There was no pulling punches, no pivot to red carpet coverage or celebrity birthdays. Just sharp, cutting commentary aimed squarely at the man ABC allegedly wanted them to soften up on. And just like that, The View made its position crystal clear.